Hey guys, Kelsey here from roughandtumblefarmhouse.com. It is that time of year where we talk about goals for the farm for this season. It has been the weirdest winter ever. It doesn't even look like winter out here. There's a tiny little patch of ice I just walked past. Other than that, it has been so warm. It doesn't even feel like winter has happened, which I don't really care for as a Minnesotan. It makes me uncomfortable to not have winter. It's kind of a vital part of the cycle, I feel like, for me as well as, you know, the planet. So it's definitely been weird, and we still have, March tends to be kind of snowy, so we may still get a bunch of snow. I don't know, we'll see what happens, but usually I'm not kind of thinking about the next growing season for another few more weeks, but just as it sits right now, I'm definitely making plans and thinking about stuff. So I thought I would share with you what we're up to right now. I'm dropping off some food scraps for our chickens. And yeah, we'll just real quick, oh gosh, it's kind of gross. We'll talk about what the plans are for the season. So first of all, there's the guineas. There's our handsome boy, River. As you may notice, I'm just gonna have to wait. Darn it anyway. Let's come over here because those chickens are making me crazy. Here's this big handsome boy. Here's Windsor. And our pastures look awful. Poor Windsor. Hey, Bob. Trying to navigate through the and he's got some birds you gotta deal with. Bud, you're looking like a wild horse. You're looking like a wild horse. There you are. There you are, handsome boy. So Windsor and Chevy, no super big plans for this year except for the fact that they were actually going to get ridden because last summer I was pregnant, so I didn't get to do any riding. So I'm excited to do some riding, get Windsor out. He's such a big handsome boy, and same with Chevy here. She's just our, well, not just, but she's our quarter horse girl over here, and get her out and doing some work too. Hi, babe. Hi. All right. So that's the plan with the horses, nothing too crazy. Just actually do a little bit of riding and some work with them. Our pastures look horrible because normally they have a little bit of protection. But we've had so many days of thaw this winter that they are just getting the absolute crud beaten out of them. So this area is definitely, they always say most farms have a sacrifice pasture or a sacrifice paddock. Unfortunately, this whole area is just going to be nothing but one big mud disaster. So the chickens, which we just kind of showed, or I just kind of showed, something different we're going to be doing there is we have reduced our flock a lot just because chicken feed is really expensive, and unfortunately it is just not, with the sort of food we like to feed our animals, it is just not cost effective to sell eggs. It just doesn't make sense, which is a bummer. So instead of selling eggs, we just reduced our chicken flock. We have somewhere between like 18 and 20 chickens right now, and then we have about 8 guineas. Hold on, there's too many birds everywhere, making this a hard video to record. Anyway, so we've reduced our chicken numbers down to a flock, basically just for us, and then a little bit for some friends and such. So that's kind of the change with the chickens. Nothing too crazy there. Goal for the year is, of course, to get our chicken coop, which has been a goal for a lot of years, to get our chicken coop, finish painting it, and finish getting in the new window. Here, let's look at this rough house. There she is, still looking rough. So we still need the one window and the painting, which I said for 2 summers I was gonna get it done and didn't. So maybe it'll be this year. Oh, those guineas. So anyway, reduced our chicken numbers, so that's a little bit of a change. Get out, do some rides with the horses. The garden this year is gonna be pretty much the same, maybe a tiny bit different. I'm not gonna be adding a lot, though. We're going to be doing pickling cukes up in our old front garden. I'll show you the garden from last year here. So I'm not adding anything to it. It looks so rough right now. I didn't completely get it cleaned out in the fall, but I was getting pregnant and tired. I've got garlic in these 2 beds here. I think I'm going to do dahlias in just one of them. I did do dahlias in kind of the yard last year, but it had just too hard of a time keeping the weeds down. So I think since I'm moving the cucumbers out, I'm going to have one bed that's just flowers for the sake of pretty flowers. So I haven't quite figured out where everything's going to go yet this year, but time will tell where everything's going to go. So of course the garlic is in these 2 beds. So I've got what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 other beds to work with here. Just past here, kind of right over there on the other side of that fence, is where I have the raspberries I planted last year. As you may have remembered from last year's video, it was kind of a disappointing season where I just was never able to get on top of anything, it felt like. So a lot of those raspberry plants, I don't know if they straight up died or if they're making it. We just had a lot of drought, and I wasn't able to stay on top of watering, and the weeds just got ahead of me. It was just a tough year last year. So I thought about ordering more raspberry plants, but they're not super cheap. And I did have raspberry plants 2 years ago that when we had goats, they escaped, ate them down to nothing. And I was like, well, great, now our raspberries are dead. Well, both of those plants actually came back, regardless of the fact that we had them eaten down completely. So I don't want to go just buy a whole bunch of new plants, because I kind of want to see what's going to come up here yet in the spring. So we'll have to see what actually did survive the winter despite me. So we'll find out how many raspberry plants we still have going. So otherwise, the strawberries, I'm sure, didn't survive. Just what a waste of effort that was last year, trying to get that all in there, because it was just too hard for me to stay on top of it. So that's a lesson I'm still learning, how much I can actually stay on top of and take care of to the standard I'd like to, given, you know, the kids, and my not being pregnant this year again is a difference, but it's just, I can't keep up with all the things I would like to. So hopefully the raspberries come back. If they don't come back, I will probably replace them, but I'm not investing too much in perennials, because we are hoping that by this time next year, we'll be in a position to be moving to a new farmer homestead. So I'll talk about that a little bit while I walk us over to the honeybees. So our farm, as you can tell by like our pastures getting kind of beaten up, which is not the way I was agriculturally raised, to allow our pastures to get that abused. We just need more acreage than what we have. And also our house, which is a decent sized house and everything, just the layout of it is not super conducive to having the young family that we have, our girls. There's only 2 bedrooms on the main floor. And and downstairs, they technically aren't even bedrooms because they aren't egress windows. And so our basement, which is finished, but it's not like a cozy finished basement. It's like it's all right, sort of a basement. It's not a place where I want to be putting my 4-year-old and 2-year-old daughters and having them like that far away from us and stuff. So we are at the age we're at now, we have kind of outgrown our house. If we had older kids, I think we would be fine in this house, but we're going to have very little children for quite a long time. So between wanting more acreage and the kids being the age they are, we are going to be hopefully in a spot to be looking for a new farm next year. It really depends on the market. The interest rates are absolutely bonkers compared to what we have here as an interest rate. And then too, just in terms of our own savings and everything. So we'll see where we are. So that's kind of the plan. So this season is another season of not really adding a lot of stuff, but just trying to clean up and improve and just have things run well and just making the place look and function as nice as possible, because it very well might be on the market. So my bees, I'll be honest, I have no idea how my bees are doing, because you are not supposed to open it up or go in there until the temperatures are consistently above 50 degrees. And so there is a pile of dead bees here, but that's not a completely unheard of thing, because a lot of bees, their population goes down a lot in the fall. It looks like there's some like honey collection. I'm not sure what's going on there. I am still a novice beekeeper, but so it's not unusual to have dead bees out there like that. This was a very, very vigorous hive that was doing very well. This one, not so much. This one is, if you might remember from the last video, we had a queen bee that died partway through the season, or something happened to her, and so they were just kind of behind in everything. So we are going to have some days in the high 50s and 60s, and I'll probably crack in there and see how they're doing. But that is one thing with keeping bees, is that it is at least here in Minnesota, it's a 50 to 60% chance of loss with your bees. So even if both hives did completely die out, I don't feel too terrible about it, because that's just like a coin flip. Slightly less than a coin flip are your chances that they're going to survive. Even so, it was a pretty mild winter, so I'm hoping that they did okay. So other things for the season, some other goals. So let's see, what do we have for goals back there? Just the garden, basically trying to keep the garden up, rehabilitate a little raspberry patch, paint the chicken coop, ride some horses. Up here towards the front of the house, so this area, which I was going to use for pasture last year, instead it's been a couple things. It was a garden when we first got here, but as you can see, it gets a lot of shade from the trees. And so this spot, we also grew out some kale for a seed company at one point in time. We had goats up here, hence the little goat shelter, but we don't have goats anymore. And so my plan for this area this year, because it does have really good, nice soil there and gets just enough sunshine to kind of plant one solid row, our neighbor will be kind enough to come and till that up for me. and I'm going to do my pickling cukes in there, and then maybe just a few pumpkin plants for the kids, because even if I did graze this, they would graze it for maybe an afternoon and it'd be done. So the value of pickling cucumbers far outweighs the, you know, one bale of hay for the animals is what, $7 versus, and the amount of the value of a bunch of pickling cucumbers is a lot higher. So that's what the plan is for right there, is to do pickling cukes. And then kind of scanning over this way, this used to be our area where we kept pigs. It was also kind of part of the goat plans, but it just kind of sat empty this last year. But what I am thinking about doing this, I think fall is the best time to start them, is doing some shiitake logs in there, because it's kind of shaded a little bit, which is nice for mushroom growth. It's obviously really easily to walk in there. So I thought that might be a nice place to just do a little bit of mushrooming. Also on my little red barn, I want to get a barn quilt up this year because as you maybe saw on the channel, the barn quilt course is finally live. So that's really exciting. I think it was this time last year, roughly a little bit later, that I started talking about the barn course, and it finally, the barn quilt course, but it took me just shy of a year to actually get that sucker up and published. And so I'm really proud and happy that that is out there. That's something else I'm working on here in the next month, is getting a chicken keeping course done. I was just sitting and thinking about what other sort of things I could really do a deep dive on, kind of more than just a YouTube video, something that people could sit down and kind of, and really learn something from. And so I realized that I can start from an egg and go all the way up to a chicken in the pot. And I know a lot about chickens and how to raise them. And so I am in the process of working on that. So it'll cover everything from hatching chicks, ordering chicks from a catalog, nutrition needs, veterinary issues, predators, handling eggs, all sorts of different stuff. So I've kind of got it all laid out so far, and I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks to a month working on that. And I'm going to have that out here. Let's see, what is it, end of February? So probably by mid-April at the latest is how long I plan on taking to have that out. So a little over a month before that'll get going. So again, not a year with a ton of hefty goals, chicken keeping course, painting the coop, cucumbers out there, and riding horses, and just in general cleaning stuff up. So some years too, I know it's not super exciting. My first videos were doing this, I'm like, oh, we're gonna do this, and we're getting these, and we're doing all this stuff. But it's just that realization of how much time I have to devote to stuff, especially when the kids, like I keep saying, the kids are just so little, and that is the hardest thing. Is I'll bring them out here to the garden. Oh, that's one of the things. Definitely I'm gonna get the mud kitchen built this year for the kids. Just be more intentional about having spaces for them where I can work on stuff and they can keep busy. Because otherwise, when I bring them down to the garden, they'd be excited for about 5 minutes to eat a cucumber and some green beans, and then they're done. They want out, they want to go somewhere else, they're headed to the front yard, they're headed towards the road, you know. It's just, they're just the age where it's hard to keep them busy. So that's just the real challenge, is trying to then squeeze in all my farm work when they're in bed, sort of a thing. So which is a time when I would kind of like to just be relaxing a little bit and, you know, going for a ride. So, you know, if it weren't for the fact that those guineas have kept away pretty much all the predators from our chickens, if it weren't for that fact, I would get rid of those guineas. They make me crazy. But anyway, so that's what's up on the farm this year. Hope you've had a more wintry winter than we did here. It's been, like I said, kind of depressing and feels very off, because it feels like to me we were sort of, you know, into the fall. Our baby was born right around Christmas, so kind of the early part of winter, just kind of thinking, oh, we're waiting for baby. And then baby was here. And then he's just turned 2 months old, which is exciting. And then now there just hasn't been the hunker down winter that we are all used to. And now it's already time to start thinking about getting those seeds planted. So it's been a winter where I haven't felt like we have really gotten to rest and put the last season behind us. It feels like the last season never really ended and winter never really came, because it didn't really. And as I'm saying that, I'm sure like old man winter's just rubbing his hands together and is about ready to dump 8 feet of snow on us or something, which, bring it on. We need the moisture. So that's what's going on here on the farm. Sorry it's loud with guineas, and sorry it's kind of just dismal looking in general, but I'm hoping by the end of the season, come around like September, October, I'm showing you a beautifully manicured farm with a lovely painted chicken coop with finally the last window in, and a bountiful raspberry patch. That's kind of what I'm hoping for this season. So let me know what your farm goals are for the year. I'd love to hear about them. Anything you notice, you're like, hey, you know, it might be nice there on your farm, open to suggestions. I'd love to hear it. I may or may not take it, because I feel like just trying to maintain things right now is about as much as we can manage. So we will see you next week, hopefully here on our channel, for more farming, family food, and fortitude at our rough and tumble farmhouse.